I grew up in a small farm community outside of Windsor, Ontario, which is just south of Detroit, south of the border into the States. And I got into music at a really young age. My father was a drummer, and my brother took after him and became a drummer himself. And by the time I finished high school, I was playing in the city of Windsor in several bands, playing the bass and the guitar and the mandolin. But the bass was always my first instrument, so it's always been kind of had a special place in my heart.
Tous ensemble.
And I spent a long time in Windsor playing guitar in several groups, but eventually I found my way to Montreal. It's a much more Canadian city, much more multicultural city. So when I got here, I began focusing more and more on music and focusing on my own music. And as a songwriter myself, I began the process of recording demos with several different groups. But because I had no money, I was introduced by a friend to an engineer who owns a studio, and he would let me record demos with him in exchange for playing bass on other people's music. And that's how I got introduced to Zoutenn. I played bass on 2 of his demos, and he liked it enough that he invited me into the band, and I joined the band around the same time as Sadio did, and I became the white anglophone in a black francophone band. Merged in these very different cultures from where I came from. But I found that the music itself was entirely in my area, very acoustic based, very voice focused, melody and lyric focused music, which is really what I look for in music. As for playing shows with Zoutenn, it's a very unique experience based on, I've been in several rock bands before, and what makes these shows and what makes Zoutenn as a performer very special to me is that we try to break down the barrier between performer and audience, so that as a group we're all part of the same thing. There's no wall between the band and the listener. For Zoutenn's band, I play the mandolin, the bass, and the guitar. Started out just on the bass, but as I began to realize the vast influences, different styles that were mixed in very subtle ways into Zoutenn's music, we decided that there was a lot of room to diversify. It's easy to say that it's an African folk band, but it's not an African traditional music band. It's got mixes from, I bring in a flavor of Celtic music, Elsa comes from the world of classical music. So after all the African rhythms and lyrics, there's still worlds of R&B and European folk music, just all mixed together. The band is like the members. We're all from different countries. We all speak different languages. All four of us were raised with a different mother tongue, born in a different country. And as Zoutenn himself said, that if he could speak English better, he would sing in that language as well.
La persévérance te mènera